Hello Robonauts, and welcome to this Coding for Success video. In this particular one, we want to walk through the ways that you can understand and read our docs pages. We understand that there is a lot of content on the Robocorp webpage and on the docs page specifically, and we also understand that it isn't always the easiest to navigate if it's your first time there. So I'm going to take just a few minutes to walk you through the structure, content you can find there, and hopefully the next time you have a question on how to do something with the Robocorp RPA solution, this video will help you find that in our docs pages. So when you first get into our docs page, this will be your landing page. We have the Getting Started section, we have the Build section, and we have the Automation Toolchain section. Below that, we have a section of a couple of miscellaneous things: security, troubleshooting, FAQs, and releases and changelog. So inside, for example, of our Getting Started, we have a couple of subsections: Quick Start, Understanding the Robot Structure, Courses, and Glossary. Inside of Build, we have Keyword Libraries Development Guide and Gen 1 Bot Conversion. So let's look into our Getting Started. So this section, just like the name implies, is supposed to help you get started. The first couple of things that you're doing when you're setting up the VS Code, when you're working with the Automation Studio for the first time. This is supposed to help you understand the structure, how to add things to your environment or your conda YAML if you're using VS Code, and how to initiate and start off a project. After you've done several projects, or even in your first project, once you actually get into the code of it and actually making the bot itself, you're probably going to spend most of your time inside the Build section. Specifically, you'll spend a lot of your time inside the keyword libraries. Inside of the keyword libraries, we have broken down RPA Framework, third-party libraries, and built-in. And when we say built-in, what we're talking about are things that are built in natively to Robot Framework. Because Robocorp's RPA solution is built on top of Robot Framework, we could say that we own the RPA Framework library. So anything that is first-party developed by Robocorp is in the RPA Framework section. Anything that is native and built into Robot Framework is in the built-in section. And anything that is outside of Robocorp but is included in some way, or is something we kind of want to highlight to you as an RPA option, we have included in the third-party libraries. Now, I'm going to spend most of my time on this video in the keywords sections talking about that, but I will get into a few other sections towards the end of the video. So for the RPA Framework keywords, or the libraries that we maintain, whenever you go to the landing page for RPA Framework, you're going to get a couple of categories, things that are any keywords that are categorized in that area you can find in this section by clicking on one of these words. We also have additional links to the libraries, the same as you saw at the high level on the left-hand side. And then we have the list of libraries in the middle of the page, just like we do on the left-hand side. So all of the same libraries you see in the middle are also available on the left-hand side. So let's jump into one of our newer libraries, which is the RPA.MSGraph library. This was also a contribution from our community as well. So we had a contest on that. That was a great webinar that we did as well. So thank you so much for everyone who participated in that content and helping to get this library put out there. Whenever you get into any of our RPA Framework libraries, the thing you're going to notice, or all of them are structured in the exact same way. We have the name up top. We have a README section, which is what you first see when you land on that library. We have keywords, and we have learning materials. The README is a description and a high-level summary of what you can do with that library, quick ways to get started, additional resources, things like that that are all related to that particular library. On the right-hand side, you can see keywords. You can see there's a search option here, so I can filter my keywords if I just wanted to look for something specific. And if I scroll down, I can see all of my keywords. Now, if I don't want to search on the right-hand side for a keyword, what I can also do is click keywords up in the middle, and that will give me a more detailed view of everything on the right-hand side. Now, if I'm in my README section and I click on a keyword, it will take me into the keyword section and directly to that keyword. You'll notice that the URL changes to go directly to that keyword as well. If you ever are trying to pass a keyword to a colleague or explain to them something, one of the nice things about our docs pages as well is that you can click directly on a keyword that you would like to send the link to somebody for, and the URL will change to include that keyword. So now when you send this URL to somebody, it will go directly to this keyword. They won't have to search the rest of the page or try to Control F and find that keyword on the page. Now, if I jump back to the top of this, whenever we are looking at our keywords, they all have a similar structure. They have the keyword itself. This clipboard icon here will copy just the keyword. So if I then paste, for example, you'll notice that exactly that keyword was copied. So below the keyword is a description of what that keyword does. Below that, we have the arguments. This is anything that is either required or optional that you can add to that keyword in order to further define it or is a required keyword. So something that you'll have to use or have to add to it in order to make sure that it works properly. We provide the argument name itself, the type of variable it's expecting, so in this case, a string, the default value, in this case, there is no default value, and a description of what that argument is looking to accept. Now, what we try to do within each of our keywords is also provide you a code sample. So if I jump into another keyword, for example, the browser.selenium, and I jump over to a keyword here, you can see that I have an example of how to use this keyword. So for example, in this particular keyword of add cookie, I have several arguments, and you can see that some of them are none type, which means that they're optional. You can also see that in the examples for how to use it, that in this add cookie, I'm passing a name of foo and a value of bar. And that's the first example. In the second example, I have the name of foo, the value of bar, and I also have an additional optional argument of domain. Now, what you'll notice about this as well is that path is actually the next argument in this list, but I jump directly to domain. And the reason that I have to specify domain equals here is because I skipped path, or this example skips path. You'll notice that foo and bar do not say name equals foo, value equals bar. And that's because we are putting them in the order in which the arguments are already provided. So if there are, let's say, two arguments and two optional, then if you typed all four arguments out as expected by the keyword, then you do not have to specify name equals, value equals, etc. If those are out of order, for example, you skip the first optional argument and you go directly to the second optional argument, or if in the case of name and value, you switch them around. You said value equals bar, name equals foo. Because they're out of order, you would need to specify the argument name followed by an equal sign followed by what you're trying to provide for that argument. One of the other sections within each of our libraries that I want to discuss is the learning materials. Inside these learning materials sections for each library, we talk about articles and courses that you can read or take in order to see how that library is used. So something else I just want to highlight here is that within each of our pages, if it is not a keyword or library page, then it will be an article page. And those article pages all on the right-hand side have this table of contents. And the nice thing about that is instead of having to read through the entire document to see what it's going to cover and if it's useful for you, you can look at the right-hand side to this table of contents, and that'll do a really nice job of giving you a great overview of what that article is going to cover. Additionally, on our docs page, we also have a great search function. So in my search results for RDP, you'll notice that I get obviously a couple of hits. And you'll notice that if on the right-hand side, it tells us what kind of hit this is. In this case, this is an article. So if I wanted to limit my search to just things like libraries or keywords, I can also click on the libraries and keywords, and this will take me from both articles and libraries and keywords to just keywords. And I can scroll through here and I can see what comes up for that particular search. If I want only articles, I can select that. If I want to mix, I can just select all results. We also have this really nice feature called Glossary. So there are several terms all throughout the docs pages that either we use because it's just natural and native to us, or it's maybe a terminology that has changed recently and it's not something you're familiar with. This glossary is a really nice page to be able to look at a docs page, or as you're going through the courses, to then look back at this and try to figure out what it was we were trying to say, if it was a new term to you, or if it was something that maybe we just used a little too quickly and didn't explain in that particular video, webinar, or within the doc itself. So I highly recommend you take a look at this, especially if there's something that wasn't clear the first time. A few other things about our docs pages I'd like to highlight to you is in our quick start guide, we talk a little bit about building a robot today. And at the very bottom, we talk about a couple of different paths. So this can be useful for you whether you are in a large enterprise organization and you have a very specific role that you are taking on, whether it's a developer, business analyst, or an architect, for example. This is also great if you're just an individual and you want to get better within the Robocorp RPA solution. We have a couple of paths here that can be really useful for you. So in our developer path, we've highlighted a couple of things that we think if you can go down that checklist, if you can learn it, if you can master it, we think that you will be better off for it. And there are some things as well that are more applicable to a developer, for example, than a business analyst. So you'll notice that the business analyst doesn't have a lot of the courses listed out here. Now, it doesn't mean if you're a business analyst, you shouldn't take the courses, but this is just our recommendation when you're first starting off and you don't know where to go. You don't exactly know where to start in our docs pages. These lists are a great resource to start to get into the content, to be able to quickly get up to speed with Robocorp's RPA solution. The other thing that I want to mention and talk about here is also under our automation toolchain section, our languages and framework. If I go under the robot framework section, I have a bunch of different content here that talks about, for example, the robot framework 5.0 changes, talks about how to do try, except, and finally. We get into conditional executions, loops, tasks, keywords, and some basic syntax as well. I hope that this quick video on our docs page has been helpful. We hope that you're enjoying the Robocorp RPA solution, and good luck automating the boring stuff.
Robocorp, where the world comes together to automate.